A little while ago, I said that I would talk a little bit about leadership. Who are leaders, or who is worthy of being called the leader, and what are leadership qualities? What is this leadership? Now, many people have written lots of literature with regard to leadership, when it comes to leadership in corporations, leadership in organizations, leadership in government, leadership in so on and so forth. There are so many of these books out there, and if you'd like, you can probably go and browse through one or two of them. But I think I'd like to address leadership as a universal. I briefly mentioned before that leadership means, or rather the person who is a leader is one who knows between what is right and what is wrong. And therefore, leadership has to do with the assessment of what is right and what is wrong, and then to proceed with what is right and to leave off what is wrong. This is what leadership is. But therefore, a leader is one who understands between what is right and what is wrong. Now, in order for the leader to understand what is right and what is wrong, he has to understand some elements of justice, and he has to have some knowledge of that in order for him to identify what is right and what is wrong. Now, in saying that, what is important here when it comes to the kind of knowledge in order to find out what is right and what is wrong, you need to have ethics. You need to know ethics. And this ethics, like I said in the previous video, is premised upon justice. In fact, everything is. Everything is premised upon this idea or this notion of justice, this truth of justice. Therefore, a leader is someone who can identify easily between right and wrong. We've already said this many times over now. If, in saying that, we can now look at our society, look at our politics, look at our justice system, look at our legislative system, and therefore we can clearly point out who is actually exercising what is right and who is exercising what is wrong. Interestingly enough, anybody can do this. You can easily identify, more or less with a cursory view, what someone is doing. You can identify that to be right, or you can identify that to be wrong. I mean, for instance, in a household, you have your parents. Typically, your father is the leader of the house, or the head of the household, and therefore you look to him for leadership. And he is the one who apparently knows between what is right and what is wrong, and therefore he tries to teach his children to adopt whatever he's doing that is right, and to avoid that which is wrong. And therefore he's trying to teach them a sense of ethics and morality and justice. Now, this is what happens in a home. You remember Al-Ghazali? He used to describe how the self, the individual, he has his own constitution. In other words, his soul is able to distinguish between what is right and what is wrong. And God gives him a choice to choose between what is right and what is wrong. And that is what gives the man freedom, free will, in other words, to choose between right and what is wrong. And he is given that freedom. And that freedom also translates not only to him as an individual, but then to his family. When the man tries to raise the family within the context of that justice system. And that also translates further from a family to society at large. Society at large, therefore, is dependent upon someone or something or some organization to try to impart what is right and what is wrong for their social well-being and for their happiness in the society. And this is the job of politics and the government. Now, if the government itself does not know the difference between what is right and what is wrong, or if the government with its resources tries to hoodwink the public by playing off the terminologies like legality and ethically. In my previous video, I mentioned about this, what is legal and what is ethical. If they do that, they are knowingly trying to misguide the opinions of the electorate, in thinking that what they're doing is right or what they are doing is not wrong. That's what they're trying to do. Therefore, it's very important when you come to leadership in government, you are thinking about how to keep the social fabric from disintegrating, and therefore you are compelled to choose what is right against what is wrong. Look at what we have today. Is it something that you could say is generally right, or would you say it's generally wrong? Would you describe the current political scenario as one of being righteous, or would you describe the current political scenario of being one which is not righteous? You can see very clearly already how they are playing one element of society against the other, how they are allowing favoritism and cronyism and nepotism to become commonplace, how politics has tried to convince one segment of society that they are the chosen people, how politics has tried to demonize another segment of society. This is all behaviors which are wrong, both in the sense of the legal, but more importantly from the ethical and moral sense. It is completely wrong, sinful in fact. Now, how is it that you can allow members of parliament to receive a pension? Is that something that is just? Is that something which is right? Or is it something which is wrong? It is not right, in my opinion. In my view, it is not right at all. What have you done to deserve a pension when there are thousands of other people more deserving than you? What about the fact that you are allowing parliamentarians regular increments of their salary, what seems to be an arbitrary increment or an arbitrary increase? Is that something which is right? It's not right. It should be based on meritocracy and also on the effort and the work that you've put in. If you have not put in any work or any effort, like most commonly these politicians of today are doing, you don't deserve such a thing. And therefore it is something that is not right. You cannot think of it as commonplace or something that is habitual. No. It should be based on merit and the work that you've done. How can you then single out one segment of society for special treatment, for affirmative action, and leave the others? All the while you are using religion to legitimize your division in society. That is something also that is not right. It is sinful. It is against the religion of Islam. We can say this unequivocally. How do you then try to convince them that it should be based on your merit, should be based on your hard work? It is not that they can't do it. They can do it. But why would you want to do it if your life is going to be spoon-fed all through your so-called adult life? How do you feel good about getting something for nothing? How can you feel ethically justified for doing that? You can't do that. That is all against the religion of Islam. And therefore, today, when we talk about leadership, it commonly revolves around either corporate leadership or political leadership. And in both cases, can we firmly say that what we have in our political leadership is actually the just, the right one? Can we honestly say this? If the answer is no, what are we going to do about it? The same thing goes for corporate leadership. Can we honestly, unequivocally say that we have fairness, justice in corporate leadership when it comes relative to society? You can't say that at all. You cannot say there has been justice. There has not been justice. There has been no equity that is shared between large corporations and the society at large, who are the users of whatever the corporations are producing. At what point do large corporations, especially the media corporations, at what point are they suddenly given the authority to judge between what is right and what is wrong? How are they all of a sudden given the authority to determine how we can say something or what we can say? Have they suddenly become scholars? Have they suddenly become experts? Have they suddenly become, what do you call it? Have they suddenly become scholars in knowledge? No. And yet they are the ones determining what you can and cannot say in the media. That is not good leadership. In fact, that is corrupt leadership. All of the examples that we've spoken of before, all of these either-or scenarios, this is all examples of corruption of leadership. So it's very easy for us to say, therefore, that if you understand leadership simply to mean knowing the difference between what is right and what is wrong, I don't think there should be much of a problem. Because if you already understand that foundation, that basis, if you're already well versed and schooled and knowledgeable in your own religion, you are not going to be able to ignore the fact that something is wrong, and yet it is portrayed to be right. I think that's all for now. Thank you very much.